Okay, so today we're going to be talking about figurative language. And with figurative language, as you can see on the bottom where we have our little picture here, it says, "Don't roll your eyes at me, young man." I'm pretty sure some of you heard your parents say that, or even Miss Trey would say that to you. Um, and also, there is like songs like Shine Bright Like a Diamond by Rihanna. We use figurative language. We also use figurative language in movies. We use figurative language in songs. I know Drake uses a lot of figurative devices within his songs, such as Hotline Bling, his first song that he ever came out with The Best I Ever Had. He also used a lot of figurative devices in his songs, as well as other artists. So, today, we're going to be going over a few of the literal language examples, not all of them, because there are 10 different types, but we don't have time to go through all the 10 different types, so we're just going to go through a few. So, what is figurative language? Well, I just explained to you and gave you some examples, but the definition is when you use words and phrases that does not have its normal everyday meaning. And it's a way of thinking of expressing ideas in vivid or imaginative ways, such as "You're the apple of my eye" or "Forever chasing the rainbow." Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a quick video on what figurative language is. And then we're going to go into some examples, and then we're going to play a game.
Yeah, it's about that time. Let's get it poppin', y'all. Let's learn this figurative language style. Let's go. Simile, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia, alliteration, imagery, hyperbole, idiom, and repetition. Simile, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia, alliteration, imagery, hyperbole, idiom, and repetition. Figurative language is what the song's about. Mostly found in poetry. Now can we share out? Figurative language is what the song's about. Mostly found in poetry. Now can we share out? Let's talk about a simile or a metaphor. Hey, look, your mind is open like a door. That's a simile. Why? You might ask. Because this phrase used like or as. Now metaphors want you to see something as something else. Use your brain, figure it out for yourself. Metaphors want you to see something as something else. Use your brain, figure it out for yourself. So a metaphor makes the reader think a little bit deeper. Love is a road, life is a journey. If the world was full of knowledge and power, I'm a strong tree growing branches every hour. You know what it is. Everything we learn it big. Imagery, hyperbole, idiom, and repetition. Simile, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia, alliteration, imagery, hyperbole, idiom, and repetition. Boom, swish, onomatopoeia. Boom, swish, that's the onomatopoeia. These are words that suggest a sound when you hear them in the story. Sound them out in your head or in your inner conversation. These words appeal to your hearing sensation. Onomatopoeia. Hey, onomatopoeia. Hey, simile, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia, alliteration, imagery, hyperbole, idiom, and repetition. Simile, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia, alliteration, imagery, hyperbole, idiom, and repetition. Hey, how we doing so far? Are you getting this? You can't give up. You gotta make it to the top. And we can do this. Yep. Do you hear me out there? Yeah, we hear you. An idiom is an expression like that's a piece of cake or the ball is in your court. A hyperbole is an exaggeration like it's raining cats and dogs. An idiom is an expression, like that's a piece of cake or the ball is in your court. A hyperbole is an exaggeration, like it's raining cats and dogs. Watch when we work with wonderful words, we will open many doors. Alliteration, alliteration, that's alliteration, alliteration, that's repetition, 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 repetition. Hey, simile, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia, alliteration, imagery, hyperbole, idiom, and repetition. Simile, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia, alliteration, imagery, hyperbole, idiom, and repetition. The sun is smiling at me. My pencil told me to write. Honesty hugged me with his arm. All these things I just personify. Hey! Simile, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia, alliteration, imagery, hyperbole, idiom, and repetition.
Okay, guys, so that video showed some examples of figurative language. So now what I want you to do inside of the chat, I want you to give me one example that you've seen in the video that is an example of figurative language. Give me one example that you've seen in the video and write it inside of the chat. I'm giving you 1 minute. Anastasia, tell me what you're writing. Which example did you see inside of the video? Anastasia.
It's raining cats and dogs.
Okay, it's raining cats and dogs. Okay, what's another one? Raise your hand. Antoine, what's another one that you've seen? I want you to say it out loud because for some reason the chat is not working with you guys. Antoine. You're still on mute. You're not, you didn't unmute yourself. Now you're frozen. Okay. Zariah, you raise your hand. Give me another example.
My stomach is touching my back.
Okay, that's a great one. Thank you. Rashad, I need you inside of the camera. So whatever you're doing, I need you to get back to being focused. Breon, I can't see you in the camera. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to go back into our PowerPoint and we're going to review some of the examples that we actually seen inside of the video. So we have a simile, which we heard of, a metaphor, alliteration, onomatopoeia, personification, hyperbole, and idiom. So A simile is a comparison of two unlike things using the words like or as. So an example would be is that he was as angry as a hornet defending its hive. A metaphor is a direct comparison of two unlike things. She is a bear when she wakes up in the morning. Alliteration, when the word that starts with the same sound are used close together in a phrase or sentence. Please plan to be present at Paul's private party. Onomatopoeia, a word that sounds like a sound it makes. It's the kettle began to screech when the water started to boil. So another example of onomatopoeia will be like bang, boom, pow. It's used in a lot of action movies. Personification is when a human's qualities are given to animals, objects, and ideas. The kite danced happily across the sky. Hyperbole, an extreme exaggeration used to make a point. I've told you a million times, don't wait until the last minute to study for your test. So another example would be is when Ms. Treywick is telling you guys, this is the last time for the 100th time that I'm telling you that you can submit your essay in. That's another perfect example. The last one is idiom is a common saying with a meaning different than the words that it's made up. So I'm going to try to catch some Z's. So meaning I'm trying to get some sleep. Okay, so we're going to play a game, and this is the game. But before we play the game, this is what I want to do. I want you guys to understand that I already know Ms. Treywick taught you figurative language, so this is basically a review. I went over the chart with you. I also showed you the video. So this is going to whoever raised their hands first. This is a part of the game. Whoever raises their hand first, and I call on you, and you answer correctly, you get 5 points on Class Dojo. And Ms. Treywick said that this can go towards free time on Friday. So make sure you're paying close attention to what it's asking you, and make sure you hurry up and click the button if you want to be first. Brianne, I see that you're ready because you're looking in. You got a smile on your face, which means that you're being really competitive right now. You want to win, don't you? Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. And here's the first one. It says, what example of figurative language does this fall under? Is it A, metaphor, B, alliteration, C, idiom, or hyperbola? So this picture represents the key to success. The key to success. So I see Shanasia the first one to raise your hand. Shanasia, what's the answer? I can't hear you.
I'm gonna go with A.
You're going to go with A?
Mm-hmm.
So Shanasia thinks it's metaphor, and she is absolutely correct. So she gets 5 points and some free time to Friday. Antoine, I see you upset over there. You thought you was first.
My hand was up.
Yeah, but she had her hand up first. That's the one I seen first. All right, we got another one. We got another one. See? Be prepared. I got another one. You ready? Let me see your game face. Oh, Antoine got a game face. Anastasia got a game face. Brian, where your game face at? All right, here's the next one. Okay, this one says that it crawls like a creepy, crawly caterpillar. What example of figurative language does this fall under? Is it A, metaphor, B, alliteration, C, personification, or D, simile? Let's see who raised their hand first. Ooh, Anastasia. I got Anastasia. Go ahead, Anastasia.
Alliteration.
Correct. Alliteration. All right, Anastasia. Okay, let's do one more. We got
Miss
one more.
Davis, have
Yeah.
them all lower their hands because they're keeping their hands raised.
Okay. Okay, you guys need to lower your hands. So the ones that are still on here that I see are Shanasia, lower yours. Okay, now we're good. All right, going on to the next one. What example of figurative language does this fall under? Is it personification, metaphor, onomatopoeia, or alliteration? I got Breon. Breon, what's the answer? Uh-oh, Breon, you might lose your spot. 10, 9. Yep, he lost his spot. I don't even see him on no more. Antoine, you was the second one. I seen you. Which one do you think it is? A, B, C, or D?
Okay. Onomatopoeia. Oh yeah. How
Yes,
we
you got
yeah
it right.
that.
Onomatopoeia. Say onomatopoeia.
Uh, onomatopoeia.
There you go. You are absolutely correct. So I got Shanasia, Anastasia, and Antoine, who gets 5 points on Class Dojo, and it goes towards their free time on Friday. We could play more games like this soon again. But right now we need to regroup and start paying attention because we have a poem to read. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the poem first, then we're going to dissect the poem a little bit. And then after that, you guys are going to go to lunch. And then when you come back from lunch, what you're going to do is, Zariah, I need your eyes over here. So whatever is happening over there, you need to be paying attention. So when you come back from lunch, you're going to reread it over to yourself again, and then you're going to do the questions, and then I'll go over the questions.
Sorry, Miss Davis. Did
Yes.
Babyfoot get the last question?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Okay, so let's move on to the poem now. For some odd reason, it clicked out. Okay, so stillness to come. I can't see you guys like this. So we're going to read this poem and then we're going to dissect it and then we'll answer the questions later. But I'm going to have you reread the poem over to yourself once again after we come back after lunch. Stillness comes. Still, silent, darkness, faintest breath of light, peeking above the horizon, shimmering and calling to life. Like a snake, the parents crawl to and fro. The early bird has finished his rounds and is resting. Warm floods like a river bursting forth from its bank. From its summit, the life giver looks down over the land and smiles. Beneath him, life teems through the fields and cities and homes. The earth is parched and begs relief from the overbearing rays. The early heat lingers and the people's minds long for respite. Laughing and running, we are free, they shout free, movement. Like a mouse, they dart to the fro. With thankful hearts, we join as a family. The last daily hour of our own. Eyes droop, mouths yawn, snuggle in, hugs for all, the quiet moment before evening, and just then it begins again. Okay, so first I want to start by talking about this is what goes into figurative language. There are many devices that are used inside of this poem. Anastasia, you have a question? No? Okay. There's many figurative languages that are examples that are used inside of this poem. But first, I want to dissect the poem so we can talk about it a little bit more in depth. Who can tell me what are stanzas and how many stanzas are inside of this poem? You can raise your hand. What are stanzas and how many are in this poem? Go ahead, Anaya Francis. Anaya, you can say it out loud.
Stanzas is
Do you need help? Hmm? What are stanzas?
stanzas is a group of lines.
Mm-hmm. What are they similar to in stories?
They're similar to like to to number each paragraph.
Great, thank you.
Great.
Okay, the second question is who can tell me how many stanzas are inside of this poem?
Can
How
I
many
do it?
stanzas? Jaden,
Okay. There's 6 stanzas.
thank you. So there are 6 stanzas within this poem. And remember, stanzas are like many little paragraphs that you have that break up the poem. So our stanza 1 here would be still silent darkness, faintest breath of light, peeking above the horizon. And then it'll stop. It's like a cutoff. This one is a little more close together, but sometimes when you read on other poems, you'll have like a space in between each stanza. But in this case, it's really not that much space. Okay, so I want to talk about wording before we go more in depth, only because I want you to have a better understanding of what the poem is saying to you. And then we'll talk about what figurative languages examples are being used within this poem. So, who can tell me or give me or take a guess what the word summit means? And this is the word that I'm talking about, summit. Who can tell me by raising your hand what the word summit means besides Anastasia? Who can tell me the word? You can take a guess. Make sure you try to use your context clues. Think about what it's saying around the word. From its summit, the life giver looks down over the land and smiles. What do you think the word summit means? Go ahead, Antoine.
Is it like a high place or something?
Yes, it's like a high place. That means it's over the mountains, it's at the top of the mountains. And you see, in using the context clues, if you, when I read it, it says that from its summit, its life givers looks down over the land and smiles. So he might be on his tall mountain looking over at the land that is beneath him, and he's smiling. So as of right now, Miss Treywick, I have Jaden, Anastasia, Antoine, Zariah, Anaya, and Zamaya, who keep participating. So keep in mind that Miss Treywick will be keeping track of who's participating and who's not. Okay. So the next word that I want to dive into so we can have a better understanding is respite, in which that word is right down here. It says the early heat lingers and the people's minds long for respite. What do you think that word means? What do you think that word means? Raise your hand. It's okay if you guys don't know. I want you to try to guess. Go ahead, Jakari. Shanasia, turn back on your camera. Jakari, I'm waiting on you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, Jakari, I'm moving on. Go ahead, Shanasia, answer the question.
What was the word was again, Miss Davis?
Respite. I'm going to read the sentence again above it and try to use your context clues to figure it out. I like how you're trying, Shanasia. The early heat lingers and the people's minds longs for respite.
Something happened to somebody?
That was a good try. Let's try
I
some.
think I know it.
Go
Is
ahead.
it like? Hmm. Is it like they lost their minds or something?
No. Think about the word that's inside of that word. Break the word down. Respite. Zariah.
I think it means when you rest your mind.
Thank you, Zariah. Great job. It's like a short period of rest or relief to something. You're exactly right. Resting your mind. Or you know how some people sometimes say, "Oh, I'm going to rest my eyes." And they say they're really not asleep, but they really sleep. That's a perfect example of that. I'm seeing some people turn off their cameras. Turn your cameras back on. We're still on. Turn your cameras back on. Okay, so when we come back from lunch, what you're going to do is you're going to read the poem by yourself again. Then you're going to do questions 1 to 4, and then we're going to answer them. We're all set, Ms. Sherwick.